first time that we shoot at an animal shouldn't be the first time that we shoot at that certain distance. In this video, we're going to talk about how to establish ethical range limits for us and the equipment that we're shooting. So one of the first things that we want to establish is where can I hit targets at effectively. So what I would like to do is take my setup and put that on a target at 100 yards, at 200 yards, at 300 yards, and figure out where my effective limit is at. I also want to do that in stable positions. So I want to do that in a wide array of positions and shoot targets out to a distance that I think I may encounter an engagement to. After I have established how far out I can effectively hit a target, then I can start to look at, okay, what is my equipment capable of taking the animals that I'm hunting at? What distance can I push out to? So how we can do that is by taking the geoballistic software, and they have some overlays in here that show you vital zone size, where our max point blank takes us out to on a 10-inch target or whatever target size I determine. It will also tell me where I hit certain velocity thresholds or energy thresholds based on my ethical decision. If I determine a 1,500 foot-pound ethical limit, it will tell me where my bullet is reaching that distance-wise. So let's talk about these couple of setups that we have in front of us right now. We have a 6.5 Creedmoor shooting 140 grain ELDMs, and we have a 6.5 PRC shooting 147 grain ELDMs. Chris and I are going to shoot these over the chronograph, and we're just going to get a sense, it'll just be one round, get a sense of the velocity that these rounds are pushing, and then we'll examine that from there. So we just got done chronographing our guns. We only shot one round just to get a sense of what the velocity is that we're pushing. So myself, with 140 grain ELDM bullets for 6.5 Creedmoor, I had 2,652 feet per second. And then Chris?
Yep, and I was firing that 6.5 PRC, which for me was a 2753.
So quite a bit of difference. Not only is he shooting heavier bullets, but they're also traveling at a significantly faster velocity. So that's going to make an impact on our range limit, our ethical range limit, and what animals that we can ethically take at certain distances. So let's figure out what to do with this information and how to read this in our drop chart. So I have some gun profiles built for the two guns that Chris and I just shot. We'll go ahead and just look at the data that they're producing. So we'll go ahead and open up geoballistics. I have my 6.5 Creedmoor highlighted, and we'll back out. I have all the information typed in there. We'll go ahead and we'll chart out to 1,500 yards just to get a look at where we're at. And this is broken down in 50-yard increments. And we can see I have a vital zone size of 10 inches in here. I'm reaching that at 222 yards. So if I aim center on that 10-inch target, I will hit somewhere on that 10-inch target out to 222 yards with the 6.5. But it's also telling me where I'm reaching the energy threshold that I put in of 1,500 foot-pounds. Just as a rule of thumb, usually for the bigger size game, elk and things like that, at least 1,500 foot-pounds of energy would be a good idea to have on target. Something like whitetail here in the Midwest, if we have 1,000 foot-pounds of energy, that should be sufficient to kill that animal. That is a subjective area, so there are different opinions on that. So I'm reaching that at 366 yards, 1,500 foot-pounds of energy, and then 722 yards with the 1,800 feet per second velocity threshold that I put in there. Right? We need to remember that depending on our bullet construction, they're going to expand and break apart differently with different velocities on target. Right? Usually they're optimized for a certain velocity, and then they get good expansion and they can actually effectively take that animal. So that's for the individual to know based off the projectile that they're shooting. So that's the 6.5 Creedmoor. Let's go ahead and switch guns. Let's go to the 6.5 PRC. And then we'll back out, and I have all that same information, and we can see on that 10-inch target, my max point blank range extends just a little bit to 231 yards on that 10-inch target with the 6.5 PRC. But then I'm also stretching out a little bit further. So with 1,500 foot-pounds of energy, I'm hitting 524 yards. So I'm extending my capability with that little bit more powerful rifle. A heavier bullet, higher velocities are really going to help me to extend those further distances. And not only that, I'm hitting that 1,800 feet per second velocity threshold that I typed in at 858 yards. So if those are my ethical decisions, that gives me an idea of where I'm at with those geoballistics overlays. So take that little bit of information and try to determine what your ethical range limits might be. We can extend those range limits through training, figuring out how to shoot in certain positions, getting more confident as a shooter, making better equipment selections. All of those things can help us extend our ethical range limits. But as a responsible hunter, we should determine, what is my limit? What is the limit where I'm going to shoot or try to take an animal? And also think about the various conditions we can find ourselves in. If it's a very windy day and the range is extended a little bit and I'm not super confident to begin with, and then the added conditions make me even less confident, those are all things that we need to think about and seriously consider whether or not we want to take the shot or try to get a little bit closer or maybe pass altogether. So really think about what you're doing out there, and good luck.